Hey everybody, I'm Josh over here at Gamers Haunt. I'm going to do a little deck tech video here for you. I'm going to talk to you about my Esika God of the Tree God Tribal Commander deck. Esika is an MDFC modal double-faced card. So on the front, she is a creature, a green creature that we don't care about. And on the back, this is where the magic happens for this deck with the Prismatic Bridge. So we have a legendary enchantment in the command zone that we're going to use as our commander. This is what we're going to cast to make the deck work. And what the Prismatic Bridge does is at the beginning of our upkeep, we reveal cards at the top of our library until we reveal a creature or planeswalker card, put that card onto the battlefield, and the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. So there's a lot of different ways you could build this deck to go a lot of different directions with different types of creatures. Like you could build it to go after Eldrazi or Praetors or Dragons or whatever you want. But what we're doing is gods. So it's God Tribal, and specifically we're using the Theros gods. So here are our gods. We're using the Theros gods for the main reason is because they are indestructible. You could use the original Amonkhet gods. They're also indestructible, but I think these tend to be more powerful. Particularly, they have some activated and static abilities that are very good for what we're trying to do. So we're going to get one of these guys into play every turn for free. It's just going to happen off of the Prismatic Bridge, and they're all going to do different things for us. And eventually, because they need devotion to be creatures, they're going to turn each other's devotion on, and there will be a critical mass of gods, and we'll start swinging with these huge indestructible beasts. Well, not literally beasts, but gods. So they all do different things for us. For example, Heliod gives us vigilance. Erebos turns off life gain for our opponents. Thassa lets us scry, or the other Thassa lets us blink stuff. Nylea, God of the Hunt, gives us trample. Perforos gives our creatures haste. Keranos gives us a little card draw. Klothys attacks our opponent's graveyards and can even ramp us a little bit. Xenagos will pump one of our gods up, doubling its power. Erois gives them all menace. And the others all have effects too that are less important, but and even like Athreos Shroud Veiled will even let us come after our opponent's creatures when we wipe the board and gain control of them by putting coin counters on them, so they come back into play under our control when they die. What we're aiming for is a critical mass of gods that are all going to be free. We're not going to pay mana for them, and we're going to then have our mana open for other things. And mainly our plan is Pillow Fort and Control. And we'll go through those cards next. There's one other creature that we want to have in the deck. Sphinx of the Second Sun lets us take an extra beginning phase each turn. So that's untap, upkeep, and draw. So the most important part of that, well, it's great because untapping all of our mana after our first main is amazing. Getting another draw step is amazing. But the upkeep is actually the cool part because it's going to trigger the Prismatic Bridge again. So we're going to start dropping 2 gods per turn. Even the turn this comes out, which the Prismatic Bridge will find it, we'll still have another upkeep after it comes into play that'll let us get another god. So even on the turn this comes, there's going to be another god. So it doesn't stop our process of getting a god each turn, it only accelerates it. Since we don't have to spend any mana on the gods, on building that particular aspect of our board state, and which is our plan to win, we can spend all of our mana on protecting ourselves as we carry out this plan. step one, or the most important part of that is going to be these pillow fort cards, and like Ghostly Prison, Propaganda, Elephant Grass. They all have the effect of taxing our opponents if they want to attack us with their creatures. So if for each creature they attack us with, they have to pay 2 mana, which stacks up really fast and is going to slow them down, make us less attractive of a target, and they may as well just attack somebody else. Norn's Annex is going to do the same thing for Phyrexian White. Elephant Grass does the same thing, but it has the added benefit of black creatures can't attack us at all, but it has a cumulative upkeep, so that's it's not going to last. Collective Restraint, because we're a 5-color deck, we're going to have Domain is going to give us all 5 basic land types really easily, so it's going to cost 5 for each creature to attack. Sphere of Safety cares about they have to pay X for each number of the number of enchantments we control. So once we start getting our gods out, who are all enchantments, by the way, it's going to be very expensive, prohibitively expensive for them to attack us with any creatures at all. So this is the number one way we're going to defend ourselves. The number 2 way we're going to defend ourselves is Wrath effects. So we've got all the basics, Wrath of God, Damnation, Supreme Verdict, even the lackluster Day of Judgment, which is strictly worse than Wrath of God. We also have Shadow the Sky, which will let us draw a card if we have a creature in play that's got power 4 or greater, which is, I think, all of them. And Fumigate, which lets us gain life for all the creatures that die, and Blasphemous Act, which can be really cheap even though it costs 9 mana, because the cost is reduced by 1 for each creature on the battlefield, and it'll do 13 damage to all the creatures, so it'll kill most things. Because all of our gods are indestructible, these are asymmetrical board wipes for us, because they're not going to touch our board state. It's going to be unaffected. Every one of these is just going to kill all of our opponent's creatures. So it's going to feel pretty unfair in that way, and that's exactly what we want. So we're constantly going to devastate our opponent's board states while we're building ours up. In our spot removal, we're going for being able to hit a diverse range of targets. So Anguished Assassin's Trophy can hit any target permanent. Despark can hit a target permanent of CMC 4 or greater, which are most things that we're going to be worried about. Anguished Unmaking will do any target non-land permanent at the cost of 3 life. These are all at instant speed, so we're going to be able to respond to threats immediately. They're pretty efficient at just 2 and 3 mana. We're leaning away from things like Path to Exile and things like that, because whereas those are more efficient, these are going to hit more things. So we can hit other things that we care about other than just creatures. Oubliette is remarkable because it'll just get rid of an opponent's commander. It phases out, it's gone. It doesn't go back to the command zone. They can't put it back in their hand. Phased out until Oubliette is removed. And it's an enchantment, so it's not as easy to remove as a lot of things. So removal's great, but sometimes things just can't resolve either. Like if we get Cyclonic Rifted, we get blown out. We have a lot of counters to deal with things like that. And generally, like we've got 2 free ones here, Fierce Guardianship and Pact Negation, but we're not reliant on free counter spells because we can hold up mana because we're not paying to build our board state, since Prismatic Bridge is bringing our gods out for free. It's not a big deal to hold up 2 or 3 mana between turns. So we can counter these big things that are going to blow us out, or like our opponents are going to attempt to win some other way by comboing off or something like that, while we're just building up and hiding behind our pillow fort. We still need to be able to interact with their spells and their attempts to win on their side. So this is our way to do that. So any control deck is only as good as the cards in your hand. So we have a good bit of card draw and a chunk of tutors to help us make sure we have what we need. Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora are all-stars. They're going to keep lots of cards in our hand for as long as they stay out. Phyrexian Arena is pretty good. It's going to give us an extra card every turn at the cost of a life. And Sphinx's Revelation and Dig Through Time will help us find the cards that we need by going through a big chunk of our deck all at once. Beyond that, we have a suite of tutors. Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and Grim Tutor can look for anything, and Mystical Tutor and Idyllic Tutor can search for instants and sorceries or enchantments, respectively. And enchantments are probably the main thing we're actually going to want a tutor for, because we're going to want to get our Pillow Fort cards to protect ourselves, or we're going to want instants and sorceries. We're going to want to get wraths to get problems off the board. And then Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and Grim Tutor can get anything and get any of those things. So that's great. These are going to be the cards that are going to make sure that we're able to enact our game plan. We're not going to start top decking. We're going to have the cards that we need to cross the finish line eventually. Lastly, in our control package, we have a set of Overload cards. Cyclonic Rift, Winds of Abandon, and Vandal Blast. These are diverse in that they can both serve as one-for-one removal spells, or they can hit everything that our opponents control. So I don't need to tell you what Cyclonic Rift does. You know it's an amazing card. Vandal Blast, same thing. We're going to destroy all of our opponent's artifacts, which in Commander is huge. And Winds of Abandon is basically just like one extra mana for a sorcery speed Path to Exile, but it has the bonus of, for 6 mana, we can wipe all of our opponent's creatures with it and exile the ones that we couldn't hit with our other wrath effects. Sure, they'll get basic lands, but we're going to punish a lot of our opponents for having greedy mana bases and not running a bunch of basics. Even if they do get a few, it's not really a big deal. We dealt with the problem that was going to kill us. Rounding out the spells in the deck, we have Ramp. We have the best 3 CMC or less green ramp spells, many of which will allow us to get our Shocklands or Triomes. If you were running this deck with original duels, it would get those. Cultivate and Kadama's Reach have the benefit of putting a land into play and one into your hand. Those have to be basics, of course, but that's fine. Smothering Tithe is going to give us a ton of treasure every time it goes around the table. And then we have a little bit of Artifact Ramp, and we've limited ourselves to the Artifact Ramp that's going to make colored mana for cheap enough to be able to accelerate into the Prismatic Bridge. So that means just Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, and Altar of the Pantheon. And Altar of the Pantheon is in here also because it has some synergy with our gods. It's reducing their devotion requirements and things like that. Sol Ring is in here because it's a commander deck. So we've got all the fetches. A 5-color deck is pretty greedy when it comes to mana. We're doing all we can to fix it because we have to hit exactly Wooburg to get our planar bridge online. We want to do that as quickly and efficiently as possible. That's the main key to making the deck work. So all the fetches, and those can get all the shocks and all the triomes in addition to the basic lands that we're running. So fetchable, we have all of the shocks and all of the triomes. This will allow us to again, just make sure that we hit that Wooburg as soon as possible and as efficiently as possible. The triomes come into play tapped automatically, which is not that bad because we can just fetch those first or fetch shocks or basics as needed. And then, you know, if we don't, if we run into them later and we don't need them, we can just cycle them away. The shock lands, of course, are like the old duels. Everybody knows how they work. You pay 2 mana to bring them in untapped. So they keep our mana fast, so that we don't have to worry about with a bunch of lands coming in tapped any more than necessary. We just the triomes. So rounding off the mana base, we have 1 of each basic, so that we can fetch those if we need to. We can also get them with Kodama's Reach and Cultivate, and then we have Command Tower and Reflecting Pool, which function the same way. They'll give us any of our mana that we need. Exotic Orchard will give us probably most kinds of mana that we need. Fable's Passage can get any of these basics. And then the World Tree, for double Wooburg, tap and sack it, we can put all of our gods into play at instant speed. So that's hard to reach and hard to get to, but it's there if we need it. We probably don't. So that's the deck in a nutshell. Again, just to reiterate, the plan is to Pillow Fort up, get the Prismatic Bridge online, and just protect ourselves as we get a critical mass of gods, and then when the stars are right, we turn them sideways and start attacking our opponents with large indestructible gods. Meanwhile, we wipe the board in one-sided board wipes that don't hurt us, remove threats, and deal with our opponents trying to win through counter spells and things like that. It's a really fun deck. So if you're looking for something new, Esika, God of the Tree, is a new call time commander, and it's this is a fun way to build it. There are lots of other ways to build it if you want to go that way. This is just one idea. If you're interested in trying to build this deck, come on down to Gamers Haunt and talk to Charla, and we're going to put the link to the deck list that I'm using here in the description below. So thanks for sticking with me and checking it out. Please like and subscribe, and comment below with anything that you think we should be doing differently, or anything that you think is cool that I haven't thought of. I'll be excited to see that. So thanks for your time and have a great day. Happy gaming.